Hello again, everybody. I'm Snapper Lancaster, welcoming you to another edition of the Central Alabama High School Sports Show. As a matter of fact, this is the last edition that we'll be doing this year before Christmas, and we'll be taking a few weeks off. 3 or 4 weeks. We'll be coming back the first week of the new year, and we look forward to seeing you then and hoping everybody will have a wonderful holiday season, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we look forward to coming back and visiting with you again. Tonight's show we've got an outstanding basketball coach with his athletes, but the one thing we want to talk about a little bit tonight is the football playoffs are beginning. As a matter of fact, the first games are tonight for state championships. And, of course, we'll be talking about Hoover is in the championship game again. They're playing McGill-Tulane at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Tomorrow night, you'll have St. Paul's will play Briarwood for the 5A title, which will be a Thursday night game. And then the Friday night game that will interest us is Wetumpka plays Pinson Valley, who had an undefeated season. They're going for a 6A championship. So we got 3 teams here in the Birmingham area that could come away with the state championships. And of course, basketball season's in the high swing right now. In Class 7A in the boys, Mountain Brook, Hoover, and Oak Mountain are ranked in the top 10. For the girls, Hoover, Spain Park, Huffman, and Hewitt are in the top 10. In Class 6A, Ramsey, another outstanding start. Helena and Homewood in the top 10 in the boys. And in the girls, Ramsey and Homewood again. So their athletic program's still doing well. And in Class 5A, Briarwood, they not only play great football, their basketball team is ranked in the top 10, as is the girls' Winona team on the girls' side of the ledger. So once again, a whole lot going on with high school athletics. And we'll be back in just a moment. We'll be visiting with a coach and some of his outstanding athletes. Don't you go away. We'll be right back.
The community features a world-class resort and spa, the amazing Robert Trent Jones Trail Golf Course, miles of historic trails, and the whole family loves the pool at Ross Park. No, are we gonna have to watch your vacation slides all night?
This was supposed to be a party.
Well, this isn't my vacation. I live here.
Ooh.
The next time you need electrical work, whether it be commercial or residential, you need to call Huffman Electrical Contractors, a company that's been in business for over 35 years. They've served clients not only locally in the Birmingham area and all over the state, but have clients outside the state of Alabama as well. Whether it's a new building or remodeling an older building or home, they can handle the job for you. Once again, that's Huffman Electrical Contractors. The number to call is 205-661-5005. That's 205-661-5005. Where at Huffman Electrical Contractors, a satisfied customer is always their #1 objective.
Take your taste to a different place. It's the taste of hamburger heaven. A taste of heaven is always best. Now you know that you're blessed. Give your taste a whole new spin. Bring your friends and come on in. Take your taste to a different place. It's the taste of hamburger heaven.
And folks, welcome back. In this segment, we're going to be visiting one of the outstanding young coaches in the western side of Birmingham. We're talking about Scott Blair, the ladies basketball coach at McAdory. Coach, good to see you. And for people that might be seeing you for the first time, tell us a little bit about your background, yourself, and what has brought you to be the head coach there at McAdory.
I got my start at Pelham High School as an assistant. I was assistant under Adam Brown for 5 years. 3 years ago, I got an offer to be the head coach at McAdory High School, so I decided to do that. Got a little bit closer to home and, a little bit better as far as the competition and some of the talent that we have, so I decided to make that jump over.
Well, good, because it sounds like, I think we were talking, you said this year's team off to a 7-3 start, fixing to get into some area play, and so it sounds like that's going to be on a positive note. And speaking about some of your players, we've got Jemiah Tyrus, a 10th grader, right?
Yes, sir.
And you are a guard.
Yes, sir.
And then we've got Kaylin Quixie, and you're a sophomore as well and a guard.
Yes, sir.
Correct. Okay. Well, girls, let me ask you this: basketball, and we'll start with you, Jemiah. Is basketball all the only sport you play?
No, sir.
What else do you do?
I participate in track, volleyball.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I hate to put you on the spot, but you're talking about track, volleyball, basketball. Which one you like the best?
Basketball.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Have you been playing a long time?
Yes, sir.
And how many years have you been playing on the basketball team?
At McAdory?
Mm-hmm.
Since I was in 7th grade.
Really? All right. And when you saw that schedule this year, are there any teams that stick out in your mind who you can't wait to line up against?
Well, we already played them, but
Who is that?
Hoover, Shea
Oh,
Valley.
really?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, pretty good teams. How'd y'all do?
We lost, but we played good as a
Well,
team.
hey, you know what? Sometimes against tougher competition, you may not win, but you can get better because of that. And Kaylin, being a guard and a sophomore as well, is basketball the only sport you play?
No, sir. I also play soccer, and I do track as well.
Really? Soccer and what else?
Track.
Track. So when you run track, and I'm learning this, and I think I'm correct on this. I've got a granddaughter that runs track in high school as well. Do you run all 3 seasons? Cross country, indoor, and outdoor?
Oh, yes. I just recently did cross country.
Yeah, right. Okay. So generally, and I guess this is right, for when a young lady participates in one track sport, you participate in all 3 seasons, right? Like the indoor and outdoor, and of course the cross country. Well, Coach, tell me a little bit about the competition that you're going to be playing in your area. How do you think, or in your region, how do you think your team might stack up against them?
Well, we start off against Hueytown this Friday night, which is my alma mater. So it'll be fun to go back home and play them. Right now they're leading the area. We haven't played an area game yet. We also will play a couple of our rivals, Bessemer City, who has always been tough, and then John Carroll, who's also won the area in the last 2 years. So it's going to be a tough area for us. It always has been. Traditionally, it's been a long time since McAdory has gotten out of the area,
Right.
and we look forward to winning the area this year, hopefully, and advancing it farther than the school's ever done before.
Well, let me ask you this: is your background totally in girls basketball?
Coaching wise,
Yeah, or when you started out?
when I first started coaching at Pelham, I was girls golf. I did a lot of girls golf. I did football. I actually was the swim coach.
Wow.
So I've done a lot of coaching.
Yeah.
When I got my start, one of my best friends got the job as a basketball coach. He needed an assistant, and he kind of talked me into it and kind of fell in love with it after that. So it's been a blessing ever since.
Well, it sounds like you've been in sports a good deal of your life.
Yes, sir.
And the reason I was asking you about the ladies basketball is, in my estimations, and I've been around sports a long, long time, I remember when, for the ladies, and you girls won't remember this, where they played on 2 sides of the court, the offense on one side and the defense on the other. And what that was leading up to, Coach, is young ladies' athletics, and especially in basketball, has come a long way, hasn't it?
Yes, sir.
And in your mind, I know what I feel like in mine is, but it'd be interesting to get your take on this. What is the basic difference? And I think there is a basic difference in watching guys basketball and ladies.
Well, coaching it, I think, I've always enjoyed coaching it more on the girls' side, because I think you can actually coach them. I think guys, they think they know it all. Especially with the group I got, they really do a good job of listening and teaching, and me being able to teach them, and them taking that onto the court. Where, guys, you roll a ball out there and they can get after it.
Well, let me ask you this, and you see the line I'm on, and see if you agree with this or not. To me, I've always seen the difference in the two, male and female, when it comes to basketball, is the ladies, like you said, are more coachable. They learn the basics better. Mm-hmm. The guys just want to go out there and fling it. I mean, looking for the highlight reels.
Well, there's a lot more strength. There's a lot more power
Right.
in the boys' game. Girls' game, it should be more fundamental,
Right,
more
exactly,
finesse.
and that's the right word to use too, because it's like their passing is better, their shooting is better, and free throws. I am amazed at how sometimes there are some lousy free throw shooters. I don't care, girls and guys, because what I've always wondered, when I played, I was 85, 90% all the time. Nobody's guarding you.
Yeah.
And I've seen more bricks thrown up and that kind of deal, but I believe you make a good point. One, they're more coachable for obvious reasons, and sometimes simpler can be a little bit better. The basic games, if you can handle that, where the passing and the shooting and teamwork and all that, it sort of makes it a little bit easier. And that may be the wrong term to use, but it looks like it's easier to coach that.
It is.
But girls, we're going to get away from the basketball court a minute, because you know that y'all have to qualify in two things. One, you got to be outstanding players to make the team. Two, you got to academically qualify, or you don't even get there. So that means, girls, and we'll start with you, Joanna, you work hard in the classroom, you work hard on the basketball court.
Yes, sir.
So that wears us out a lot, you know? So what I would want to know is, do you do to wind down, just to have some downtime where you can just relax and do whatever? What is it that you do? Like, do you hang out with friends, or?
Yeah, I go out with my friends and we
Yeah.
have like parties and stuff.
Yeah, you sort of, you're under a controlled environment where you can go sort of at your pace, right?
Yes, sir.
How about you, Kaylin?
Well, basically the same, just hanging with friends or just going home to study.
Well, you know what I wonder about, and this surprises me, and sometimes I'm shocked with you girls when this is not the first answer. Oh, I love to shop.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
that too.
when I see ladies and shopping, that just sort of goes together. But I'm going to ask you, young ladies, a question I ask the guys all the time, and every once in a while I will ask the young ladies because I'm curious about it. Is there more pressure, and we'll start with you, Jemiah, when you go out to play a ball game, and you go at home, you're in front of the home crowd, and everybody's pulling for you, and you feel like you got to do good at home. Is there less pressure on you at home or on the road? Do you feel like some of the pressure's been taken off when you go away from home to play, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter, but me personally, I think that is more pressure on the road.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Well, the reason I asked you that is I've had a lot of the players tell me they feel like they got to do good at home because mom and dad and all their friends are there watching them, and you're on your home court. You ain't supposed to lose or lose much, So how about you, Kaylin? How do you feel about that?
I feel like it's more so home because, you have the student section, like you said, friends and family. Everybody's like counting on you to win at home. So, yeah, I feel like it's home.
When they're going into this season, and now, Coach, how many years is this for you there at McAdory?
It's my third year.
Third year. So you girls, this is your third year to play for Coach?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They started as eighth graders.
They what now?
They started as eighth graders.
Wow, that's a compliment right there. You girls bouncing that ball pretty good. So, and we'll start with you, Jemiah. What do you think the capabilities of this team are? Are you satisfied with the good start you've had, and do you feel like you guys are ready for some area play?
Yes, sir. I feel like we come a long way. Like from my 8th grade year, we all been playing together, and we know each other's strengths. And me and my team, our bond on the court has gotten very good.
Okay. And so what are you expecting from yourself, Kaylin, and your team this year?
I also feel the same way. I feel like further in our future games, we can come out with a better start, adjusting to our teams and our opponents better.
Okay. Last question I got, and Jemiah, we'll start with you. To this point in your young life, who's been the most inspirational person or persons in your life?
My parents.
Okay, good for you.
Really, all my coaches, actually.
Okay, well, I mean, they play a big part in your life. Coach, last question for you. You're off to a good start, but I guess you're like any coach in the business. You hope your team grows and peaks the closer we get to playoff time, right? Mm-hmm. So you think you got a good group that maybe y'all will be able to make some noise down the road?
I think so. I think last year we peaked kind of in the middle of the season and had some injuries and kind of faltered down the stretch, but I think this year we got a better plan. We got our eyes set first on the area, You know, our main goal is to win one game at a time, starting with Hueytown on Friday, and then finish off the area undefeated to get to host the area tournament. You know, that gives us a leg up going into the sub-regionals. We get to host a home game, get out of sub-regionals, and the sky's the limit for this team.
Well, listen, I wish the best for you and your team. Off to a great start.
Thank you.
Let's hope for a great season.
I appreciate it.
Folks, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and visit with 3 more athletes that's been very instrumental in the quick start that the Lady Yellow Jackets have had. We'll be right back. The next time you need electrical work, whether it be commercial or residential, you need to call Huffman Electrical Contractors, a company that's been in business for over 35 years. They've served clients not only locally in the Birmingham area and all over the state, but have clients outside the state of Alabama as well. Whether it's a new building or remodeling an older building or home, they can handle the job for you. Once again, that's Huffman Electrical Contractors. The number to call is 205-661-5005. That's 205-661-5005. Where at Huffman Electrical Contractors, a satisfied customer is always their #1 objective.
At Andrew Sports Medicine, we partner with our patients, trying to help them overcome the obstacles that keep them from achieving their goals.
This practice aggressively pursues victory over injury, over pain, over limitation, over anything that's going to keep you from being the best you can be.
It starts with our non-surgical physicians who are trained in sports medicine, orthopedic injuries. We have specialists in sports medicine, shoulders, elbows, and knees. We have hip specialists that do only hip surgery, including arthroscopy, minimally invasive resurfacing, and total hip replacement if needed. We have joint replacement surgeons. We have spine surgeons. We have surgeons that specialize in foot and ankle surgery and in hand surgery. So just about all the specialties of orthopedics are covered at Andrew Sports Medicine.
What makes the great surgeons great is their volume of experience at making decisions, whether that's intraoperative decisions, post-operative decisions, pre-operative decisions, the decision to operate on somebody or not operate on them. And so our volume here breeds good decision making. That gives us an edge in terms of making decisions for our patients, which ultimately is a lot of times the difference between success and failure. The teams, the players, the parents have confidence in us because they know we're going to communicate with them. We're going to create a plan unique to that athlete or that person, and we're going to get them back to their thing as quickly and as safely as we can.
At Andrew Sports Medicine, our mission is to partner with our patients and to help them succeed and achieve victory. Whether you're a weekend warrior, a grandparent with a shoulder problem, or a professional athlete, you get the same care, the same high-level technology, the same aggressiveness that we would in a professional athlete, and we treat everyone the same way. None of us like to lose. We're all very competitive, and we're not going to lose against their illness or their injury.
The community features a world-class resort and spa, the amazing Robert Trent Jones Trail Golf Course, miles of historic trails, and the whole family loves the pool at Ross Park. Now, are we gonna have to watch your vacation slides all night?
This was supposed to be a party.
Well, this isn't my vacation. I live here.
Ooh.
And folks, welcome back. As you can see, I got 3 outstanding young ladies who happen to be pretty good athletes. Off to a good start with their basketball team this year. And sitting closest to me, Jalen Austin, a senior, and she's a forward. Then Sanaya Morris is a sophomore guard, right? Okay, and then finally Kiki Riles, who is a senior forward. And girls, good to have you with us tonight. Good to see you. Should be happy. 7-3 is a very good start. Are we ready for that first area game? We'll start with you, Jalen.
Yes, sir, definitely. I feel like all this hard work will really pay off playing these hard teams.
Okay, now let me ask you a question. You being a senior, and of course, Kiki, this applies to you as well. The coaches sometimes look to the older players for leadership and help leading your teammates. And I don't want this to come out the wrong way, so don't hit me, okay? You know, your girls can be very sensitive. And if y'all get into little arguments and stuff like that, sometimes our coaches, the last thing we want to be is right in the middle of it. So sometimes you girls can police yourself pretty good. That means, especially the seniors, you're looked to for that leadership role. Do you embrace that position, being a senior, knowing that you're sort of responsible in a way for how your team plays and acts sometimes?
Yes, sir, definitely.
And so, are you a silent leader, or if you have to, pretty vocal?
I try to be silent, but if I have to be vocal,
That's what we're looking for. That's what we got to have sometime too. Sanaya, you're a sophomore and a guard. How many years you been playing basketball?
Well, I've been playing since I was 5.
Wow, so you've been playing a long time too. Do you play any other sports there at McAdory?
Not in McAdory, but I played softball.
You have, but you still play softball?
No, sir.
Okay, so I guess that means your first love is basketball?
Yes.
And are you a better defensive player or offensive player? Can you put the ball in the hoop? That's important.
Can.
You can? Well, that's good. We're going to say you're offensive, and sometimes you can be defensive where you have to be, right? Okay. Well, okay, now we're down to Kiki Riles. Now, Kiki, I want to know, are you a vocal leader or the strong, silent type?
I'm the vocal.
You are? Mm-hmm. In other words, you will get in somebody's grill, and you don't mind that?
I don't mind it.
Coach likes you. I guarantee you, sometimes you ladies can take care of problems. Let me ask you, being a senior, how many years you played basketball there at McAdory?
Since my 7th grade.
Really? Okay. And when you saw the schedule, are there any teams that you enjoy, or any particular athlete maybe that you've known through your playing years there that you look forward to playing every year? Who would that be?
I say Bilson.
Really? Yeah, because their qualities at school, and have a lot of good athletes there as well. You off to the good start. You being a forward, are you what we would call a power forward, or you're a scoring forward, or both? Don't be bashful.
I guess both. I don't know.
Well, I don't guess. I got a feeling you probably are, and that's good. But the one question that I'm going to ask you girls, and be honest with me, I almost gave it away a minute ago, but I know you spend a lot of time practicing playing basketball and studying to keep those grades up. But when you're not doing that, you got to relax, unwind somehow. What do you do to do that?
I go to sleep, and I eat and go back to sleep.
You know what? That's a great way to do it, because you can't hurt nobody but yourself doing that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How about you, Sanaya?
Go to sleep. I'll be on my phone.
Really? Y'all just wear yourself out playing and studying, right? Okay. Nothing wrong with that. Kiki, you were laughing. What's the problem?
The same thing.
Same thing? All right, let me ask you this then. Do you have, now athletes, and girls have got to be the same way. See, I call y'all athletes just like the guys. We have superstitions sometimes. You know, like, for example, you got to wear your hair the same way, or wear the same socks all the time when you win, or some kind of little old superstition that makes you think you're going to be a tiny little bit better than everybody else, right? Okay, Jalen, what, do you got anything like that?
I eat the same sandwich before every game.
Bless you, girl. I didn't think somebody was going to save me. Same sandwich.
The same
What's
sandwich.
it made of?
It's from Subway. It's a foot-long ham and cheese.
Well, let me tell you, Subway, I eat a lot there myself. Subway girl. Boy, we do commercial for them. We like those sandwiches. That's good. How about you, Sanaya?
I have anything.
You don't do anything out of the ordinary? No. You just get out there and play, right? Okay, that's all right. You're winning. We're not going to say nothing. You're doing good, okay? Kiki, how about you? Now, don't say it all at once.
I listen to my music.
You do?
Yeah.
I don't blame you. Sometimes I get lost in my music. I forget how good a talker I am, and I just become a good listener. I like that too. But girls, especially you seniors, two seniors, Jalen, do you know what you're going to do? Are you going to try to go to college, play ball somewhere? Do you know?
Oh, yes, sir. I'm playing at UNA.
Really?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's say that you don't end up being good enough to be in ladies professional basketball. What do you think you might like to do for a living once your school days are over? What kind of
I'm going to
occupation?
either be a chemical or mechanical engineer.
Really?
Yes, sir.
All right, I want you to answer this question honestly.
Yes, sir.
Have you thought about, I don't care, let's say you're a great success at that. Have you ever thought about coaching?
Actually, I have.
Really?
Yes, sir.
You know, the reason I ask that question is a lot of times everybody thinks, and coach, I should have asked him this too, most coaches didn't really start out to be coaches, but they ended up doing that. And even some of the great ones. So you just never know. Kiki, you a senior. Are you going to play at the next level, or do you know, or have any idea where you're going?
I'm going to the military,
Oh, really? Which service branch?
most likely the Air Force.
Really? Okay. Well, when you hope to make a career, or just start off there and see where it takes you?
Start up there, see what it takes me.
You ever thought about coaching in your private life one day? Well, you know, not everybody's cut out to be that way. And so whatever we choose to do, be the best we can be, that's all you can do. Now, I know y'all have enjoyed sports all these years, but I'm sure you seniors from time to time, you realize them young ladies come to these basketball games at McAdory, they look up to you girls. If you had to tell them what playing basketball has meant to you and what it could do for them, what would it be, Jemiah?
It's made me, I feel like, more disciplined. Gave me something to help push me forward and help me be a better person, I guess, more than academics.
Well, I tell you what, if you told my young daughter that, it might be convincing enough to where she might think, Daddy, I want to play basketball. And then it'd be granddaddy. Oh, I got a great-grandson, so it'd be great-granddaddy. Goodness gracious. Getting along the road there. How about you, Kiki? What would you tell some young lady?
It keeps me focused.
Right.
It keeps me out of trouble.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing, too. Plus, you're having fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know, Sanaya, you don't say a whole bunch, but what would you say to a little girl if she come up to you? Why do you like playing basketball so much?
I just love it. This what I do.
Well, you know, the key word there, I think, and not making fun of anything, is that you love it. You love what you're doing. And so that's a good thing. But girls, your season, you've gotten off to a good start. Does it surprise you that you have?
Actually, no. I felt like I knew we were going to have a good season since the end of the season last year.
Really? So you finished on a strong note, and then that gave you a lot of incentive to look forward to this year?
Yes, sir.
Good. How about you, Sanaya? Has it surprised you at all the way y'all have played?
It didn't. Like last year, I feel like we didn't have as much like team chemistry, but
Right.
I feel like this year we know what we capable of.
Let me tell you what, you said a word that's very important, chemistry. That if the chemistry is good, you'll be the best you can be, not only as an individual, but also as a team. So that's important that you like one another, you know, to start with. It makes you the best you could be. How about you, Kiki?
I feel the same way.
Yeah. Well, if everybody gets along, it's a whole lot easier to play and be the best you could be. Girls, it's been a pleasure having you visit with us. You're off to a great start. I hope your best basketball is still ahead of you, okay?
Thank you.
The community features a world-class resort and spa, the amazing Robert Trent Jones Trail Golf Course, miles of historic trails, and the whole family loves the pool at Ross Park. Oh, are we gonna have to watch your vacation slides all night?
This was supposed to be a party.
Well, this isn't my vacation. I live here.
Ooh.
And this will be your premium right here.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to say I combined home and auto with State Farm.
Saved $760.
Love this guy.
Okay, does it bother anybody else that the mime is talking? Freaky.
Bundle home and auto, and you could save $760.
That's 760 very good reasons to call Alan Gurdeau in Trussville today.
And folks, welcome back. This will be our first segment of the show, and joining us here at Andrews Sports Medicine, of course, is a friend of the programs, and Dr. Jeff Dugas, and Jeff has been with me a few times. Jeff, awfully good to see you.
Great to see you, Snapper.
And,
thanks for having me.
Well, I look forward to not only having Jeff in this first segment, but he's sort of going to co-host with me on tonight's show, because we want to make sure we get the best information we can out to you. And believe me, Andrews Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center, they are noted for sports medicine, professional athletes, collegiate athletes, and of course, Jeff, it all starts at high school level too.
And below.
Right.
Yeah, and below that.
As we get started, tell us, for people that might be seeing you the first time, give us a little bit about background on yourself and what has led you to your eventual job you have here now.
Lyle Kane and I joined the practice together. We were fellows in 1999 to 2000 with Drs. Andrews and Clancy here in Birmingham. And that was back at Health South Medical Center over there that's now UAB Highlands. And we were Alabama Sports Medicine back then. And then all the stuff that went down with Health South, we had to vacate that. Health South had to divest the hospitals, and we wound up moving to St. Vincent's in 2005, and then we split the practice, and Andrews Sports Medicine was founded in 2008 with myself, Lyle Kane, Jim Andrews, Angus McBride, Jody Ortega, and Steve Nichols, and Richard Sanders also. And so we came over here and started Andrews Sports Medicine. We were over in the Women's and Children's Center for the first few years while they were building this building. And we moved into this building in 2008. And so we've been here ever since. So we've been here going on 9 years. We've got 12 orthopedic surgeons and 4 primary care sports medicine docs. Lyle and I practice pretty traditional sports medicine, orthopedic sports medicine. We do, the predominance of our stuff is knee, shoulder, and elbow. We probably do a little bit more elbow than most people because of all the throwers we see. But we've populated this practice with some of the finest and most outstanding physicians I've had the pleasure to work with. We have a really collegial, fun, hard-working bunch of people in the practice right now, and I think we're clicking on all cylinders. We've got a CEO that you should have her on the show, Lisa Warren. You want to talk about knowing the business of medicine and knowing how to make patients happy and provide a service. This woman, she's been our CEO going on 5 years, and she really gets it. And from her down throughout the whole organization, I think we've got a really good practice. I'm really proud of the people we've got in this practice, and you're going to get to meet some of those studs tonight. So we've got some real studs in the practice.
Well, I know some of the programs we've had where you and I have talked in particular along the lines of injury prevention, and having to look at it from that area, we talk a lot about specialized. You know, we grew up in the era of 3 sports stars, you know, where most of the time it was football, basketball, and baseball for your stud athletes. Right. And early on it was more male than female, but now that whole picture has changed tremendously. But we talk about that, and the reason I bring it up is because one of the issues we've talked about with you and I and Lyle before, of course, was the fact that overuse of some of your body parts in kids playing certain sports, sometimes year-round or 8 or 9 months a year, and not being the 3 sports stars like we used to have. And we've talked about that as being one of the main ingredients that's led to a lot of injuries that could be prevented if the kids didn't overuse them.
You know, you're exactly right, Snapper. When you get to the higher levels of high school sports, when you get to the 5A, 6A, 7A, even some of the 4A and 3A schools, the coaches expect these kids to dedicate themselves, you know, to a sport. Now, they all tell you they want you to play multiple sports, and I think they do, but they have demands on their time, and it becomes just a pure time issue. When you're a 1A or 2A school or a small private school, the flat-out problem is they don't have enough athletes, so you'll see a lot more 3-sport athletes in the 1A, 2A, 3A schools than you will at the 7A level. You get to the 7A level, you're going to have a really tough time making a GPA that's passable, getting any sleep, and playing 3 sports. It's going to take up a lot of your time. and that's especially true. You'll see some freshmen and sophomores try to do it. To see a 3-sport athlete as a senior and to see them be good at 3 sports is almost unheard of these days at the 7A level. So it's not just about the fact that it's tough to do. It's a time thing. And, at that level, the time constraints and the time requirements are so great.
I know in some of the shows we've done before, we talk about especially in football, of course, you have your relationship still with Vestavia, right?
I do. Yeah.
Which I had for many years, and that's how you and I got to know one another. And used to, it seemed like the knee injuries were probably the number one injury of all the injuries you could have on a football athlete or a football player that you dreaded. But now all of a sudden, and the equipment, and that's another thing I want you to touch on too, is through the years, the equipment has improved. The injuries still come. There's no way to avoid that.
That's right.
But how have you noticed that, number one, we used to talk about knee injuries, the number one injury. Now all of a sudden it's concussions. Now, how, and you've experienced this with some of the Vestavia players, I'm sure. How how hard is it to determine how serious a concussion an athlete has?
The first order of business is to decide if they have a concussion. And when we're on the field and we're dealing with an acute injury, that's priority A. And there's very strict criteria for that. There are tests we can do. We can compare to baseline. There's things you can just see. Obviously, if a kid is knocked unconscious, that's easy. They have a concussion. But if they're not, there are things you can look at. There are tests we can give. There are comparisons you can make to baseline. But the decision has to be made, does that kid have enough of an injury that we need to hold them? And once we make that decision, they need a physician's clearance to return to play. But the important part of that clearance is to give other physicians, whether it's the physician who made the diagnosis or the trainer who made the diagnosis, it's to give a trained physician a chance to really test that child and be sure that they're ready to go back. There are standards of that. There are international standards and national standards. And we here in Birmingham are very blessed to have a great concussion clinic that we work very closely with at Andrews. We work with the UAB Concussion Clinic. Now I'm going to tell you that the UAB Concussion Clinic does not want every concussion. They want the concussions that don't get better in a reasonable period of time. Those are the ones that need actual treatment, not just watch it and they'll get better. Most concussions, if you just watch it and don't let them get worse, they're going to get better. But if somebody's not getting better in 7 to 10 days, they actually need treatment. And that's done by a neuropsychologist, not a neurosurgeon or a neurologist, but a neuropsychologist. They're doing basically brain rehab. It's the same as if you injure your knee, you're going to do knee rehab. And in the brain, concussions happen in different parts of the brain, and the treatment for a concussion that happens here in the frontal lobe of the brain is very different from the concussion that happens in the occipital lobe of the brain. And so we've got access to these guys that are great neuropsychologists and diagnosticians, but the first order of business is to make the diagnosis and then get them in with one of our non-surgical docs to assess them and decide whether or not they need further testing and further treatment by one of the neuropsychologists. So in Birmingham, we are very blessed to have that kind of a network, and it's important to these kids.
And injuries, they're just a part of the high school experience, athletic experience. And we've seen through the years the equipment get better and better and better, but we've also seen the athletes getting bigger, stronger, faster. The hits are more violent, for lack of a better word. And so, as the old saying goes, as much as we'd like to see no injuries, there will always be a place for surgeons such as yourself.
There will always be injuries, but we need to be diligent and vigilant to make sure we're doing our part to prevent them. There's a lot that's changed. We don't see as many knee injuries as we used to because we're playing on artificial turf now, which is a very uniform playing field, so we don't see the undulations. Now we see more high ankle sprains. So we traded some of the ACL tears for high ankle sprains. maybe it's a better injury.
Well, I tell you what, there's no such thing as the old saying goes as a good injury, so we'll keep treating them. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by another physician. Jeff and I and our new partner up here will be talking about different types of injuries from different parts of the body. We'll be right back.
Take your taste to a different place. It's the taste of hamburger heaven. A taste of heaven is always best. Now you know that you're blessed. Give your taste a whole new spin. Bring your friends and come on in. Take your taste to a different place. It's the taste of hamburger heaven.
The community features a world-class resort and spa, the amazing Robert Trent Jones Trail Golf Course, miles of historic trails, and the whole family loves the pool at Ross Park. No, are we gonna have to watch your vacation slides all night?
This was supposed to be a party.
Well, this isn't my vacation. I live here.
Ooh.
The next time you need electrical work, whether it be commercial or residential, you need to call Huffman Electrical Contractors, a company that's been in business for over 35 years. They've served clients not only locally in the Birmingham area and all over the state, but have clients outside the state of Alabama as well. Whether it's a new building or remodeling an older building or home, they can handle the job for you. Once again, that's Huffman Electrical Contractors. The number to call is 205-661-5005. That's 205-661-5005. Where at Huffman Electrical Contractors, a satisfied customer is always their #1 objective. And folks, welcome back. In this segment, as you can tell, we've got a beautiful young lady up here who is a very smart lady, and we're talking about Kathleen McKeon. And Kathleen, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you also.
And her specialty, like we've got a lot of specialists up here tonight, happens to be the hand and wrist. And Dr. McKeon, the thing that I am most interested in is a lot of times the background of you doctors. And the question that I would ask you, and this is the #1 question that comes to my mind, were you involved in athletics growing up, or is that what led you down this road, or how did you get to where we are today?
Absolutely. So growing up, I was first a gymnast, and then I transferred over to springboard and platform diving, and I did that all the way through college. And I think as you participate in athletics, you have injuries, your friends have injuries, and it does get you interested in that and interested in rehabbing athletes, and you understand the importance of getting back to sports and how important that is in an athlete's life. And I do think it gives you an advantage to have that background.
Did you ever, having said that, it leads almost to a question you got to ask, did you ever have a major injury of any kind during your athletic experience?
I was fortunate. I never had a major injury. I had multiple minor ones, but no, unfortunately, I escaped without too much harm.
So Kathleen, Kathleen's been part of our practice now for what, 3.5 years?
Almost 3 years.
Three years.
Yep.
In a practice like this in sports medicine, we obviously have to have subspecialists in every anatomic area, and your area is the hand and wrist. So as opposed to me, because I trained 20 years ago and you came out of training 5 years ago, one of the best quotes I ever heard was, when the chips are down, you want a young doctor and an old lawyer. So what are you doing that's different than what I learned 20 years ago in the hand and wrist? We would be general hand and wrist surgeons. You're very specific sports medicine hand and wrist. So what are you doing that's changing the world of hand and wrist?
I think there are, #1, some new techniques that have been developed, and #2, there are new implants that have been developed. Implants that are specific to the hand and wrist. And I think for me as a hand and wrist specialist, my comfort level with those implants, knowing what's available, knowing when to apply them, knowing how to use them well, and then how to rehab them, I think is unique, because that's all I do every day is work with these fractures, these products, these injuries. And there are a lot of very specialized parts of the hand and wrist. It's small bones. The implants are different than the implants that we would put on like a femur or a tibia. And it's important to know what the best implant for that would be, because a stronger implant and a better implant leads to early recovery, earlier activity, earlier return to sports, and I think that's the real advantage.
You know, you've seen patients from teams that I cover all the way from high school to professional, and I'm astounded at how fast you're getting some of these people back in the game, be it a D1 college football player, an NFL athlete, and we're talking a matter of days to weeks, and that's because of the strength of the repairs and the rehab techniques. Can you speak to how that's different than immobilize them and keep them out?
Absolutely. So, you know, obviously as much as we can do it safely, we want to get people back in the game. And that's not just to sports, that's also to work and other activities of daily living. So, you know, the goal would be to do a stable repair and then do very specific rehab and specific immobilization. So some of these people were getting back to sports in different types of casts and braces. And again, that's something that a hand specialist should be able to determine what kind of brace would keep the injury protected, but still allow for maximum function.
Can you talk a little bit about the training that you had to become not just a hand surgeon, but specifically a sports-trained hand surgeon?
Absolutely. So after medical school, I did an orthopedic surgery residency. So that's 5 years of training dedicated from head to toe in sports injuries, fractures, and joint, muscle, tendon issues. After residency, I did 1 year of subspecialized training where all I did was upper extremity. And that included everything specific, mostly hand and wrist, a little bit of elbow, but primarily hand and wrist. And that's a whole extra year that we do after residency to become an expert in that field.
But that year that you spent was spent with somebody that really did a lot of sports medicine.
Yes.
It wasn't all
Correct.
microsurgery where you're sewing back on cut off fingers. You were doing really more sports medicine.
Yes, we did quite a bit of that, and I did my training at Vanderbilt for my hand and wrist, and we took care of all the Vanderbilt athletes, all the Nashville professional athletes, all the Nashville musicians, which essentially are like hand athletes.
Maybe better than.
Maybe, yeah. So which was a great exposure for what we do here at Andrews.
A curiosity question that I would have, since so far in your young career, have you, and this, I don't mean this as a sexist question or anything, but do you have more injuries from male or female athletes, or are they pretty equal?
I would say it's all across the board. You know, I think with Title IX having been in place for quite a while now, a lot of young women participate in sports, and not just as children, but all the way up through college. And we take care of multiple high school and colleges here at Andrews, so I think we see, I would say probably about an equal number.
Well, being the hand and wrist is the injuries that you deal with for the most part. In general, are they the kind that you're out a minimum time, especially if they don't require any major surgery?
It really depends on the injury and on the sport. So someone who's like a football lineman, often we can cast those and let them play. They do fine playing with that. Someone who's a football quarterback on their throwing hand, it's a little bit of a different situation. And that's another thing that we try to be very specific in, not only their sport, but their position, which hand it is, whether it's their dominant hand or not, and all those things can affect their care.
And I think we don't want to mislead the public in any way. We're sports specialists here, but yet you treat any kind of patient with any kind of injury that they might have, right?
Absolutely. Most people use their hands for work, for taking care of their families, and their hands are important for all of those things. And a lot of the same functions they do with their hands in sports is something that someone would do with their hands at work.
And that's kind of an important point, Snapper. We get calls in the practice all the time from people. I sent 2 people to her today that called me because I knew them. They were either existing patients or friends. And I can call Kathleen and say, hey, I need you to see this person because they're better in her hands than my hands. I've probably done a fraction of the things that she's done in the hand and wrist before she got to the practice. But I can't hold a candle to her when it comes to that stuff. So it's in the patient's best interest to see somebody with her expertise and her experience with that stuff. I can't do nearly as good a job with that stuff. And I would hope she would say the same thing about us. I don't know when the last time was she did a knee operation, but that's the nature of our practice being so subspecialized. But we work so well together that we get patients to the place they belong with the best possible doc.
Well, I guess it's human nature for guys, and I almost would think it is the same way for ladies. Do you see a lot of athletes, non-athletes that come to you that have put something off, that if they'd have come a whole lot sooner, you could have done a whole lot more? But is that just human nature to think, I don't need to go to that degree, you know?
I think, yeah, I mean, absolutely. We see a lot of things that are neglected. People think, oh, it's just a sprain and, you know, rub some dirt on it, get back in the game, and then they show up several months later with a little bit of a more difficult problem. But we do see that situation a lot, so we are comfortable dealing with that situation also. Do we wish they'd come in sooner? Of course, but there's usually still things we can do.
Well, in the field that you've been in, everything changes. Medicine is no different, but you just never know when the newest technique is coming. Does that surprise you how that happens, or you get in a comfort zone with treating people, then all of a sudden, hey, we've got a better way to do it. Have you experienced much of that?
We try to stay on the cutting edge of things, and I think, at least for hands, I think I have an idea of what's coming, down the pike, and you probably for the same. And we try to help develop a lot of those here as well. Right. We go to conferences, nationwide conferences. We teach. Absolutely. We give lectures ourselves. So we try to be pushing the envelope and be aware and be on the cutting edge of those developing technologies.
So I guess in the early stages of your career, do you feel like that? I would almost think if I end up at Andrews Sports Medicine that I've found a home. Do you foresee maybe your future being here for many years?
I hope so, I guess, unless they kick me out.
I'm going to answer that for her and say she's stuck here for as long as we can keep her here. She is a stud of a surgeon and an even better person. So we hit it out of the park when we got Kathleen.
Well, I tell you what, Dr. McKeon, we look forward to seeing you more down the road, and I hope that you have a very successful career here ahead of you. If you're satisfied with them as they are with you, it's going to be a good team.